All right, yeah! Thank God for fantasy football. I'm Buster Brown, and the show, it's called Redemption Rehab. And if you tuned in today, it's for one reason. It's because you want to start winning championships in fantasy football. Today, we're here on our website, fantasyfootballredemptionrehab.com. And we're talking about the rookies that will impact fantasy football in the 2020 NFL season. The NFL draft is over. The rookies finally know where they're going to be playing football this year. Some will have a big impact in fantasy football, and others may take some time. We're going to show you the rookies you should be looking at this year and the ones you should be taking a look at for years to come. If you want to win championships in fantasy football, one of the main keys is to know who's coming into the league at every position. Running back, wide receiver, quarterback, and tight end. Doesn't matter. They're all important and they all score points in fantasy football. That's why you need to know who's coming into the league. Well, we're going to show you the rookies that will impact fantasy football this year and for years to come. So buckle up, get out your popcorn, and let's head over to the chalkboard
and check out the facts.
All right, yeah, here we are talking about our top rookies. They're going to impact the 2020 NFL season. Players you need to know about. Starting with one of our favorite websites here on the left, and they're called fantasypros.com. If you get a chance, you need to check these guys out. They help me win championships every year, and they'll help you too. All you got to do is go to the description below and hook up with them. We'll put a link down there for you to check them out. On the right side of your screen is another great website, fantasyfootballcalculator.com. This is the website I use to do mock drafts on, and I always take in this thing behind me now. It's called an average draft position sheet or an ADP sheet. It determines over maybe 1,000 drafts the order in which players are going to be picked. So it gives me an idea of what rounds to take players in. I love both these sites, and if you want, like I said earlier, go to the description and check them out. We'll hook you up. Today, we're looking at the rookie impact players. They're going to affect the 2020 NFL season. And we're going to start with our tier 1 guys. And it starts over here, starting with Clyde Edwards-Helaire at number 1, number 2, Jonathan Taylor, number 3, J.K. Dobbins, number 4, DeAndre Swift, all running backs. Then you got your 2 top tier 1 wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy. This is my tier 1 top rookies that you need to know about that are going to impact the 2020 NFL season. Okay, here we are going to take a look at some of these rookies. The first rookie that Fantasy Pros thinks is going to be a top rookie impact player for 2020 is Clyde Edwards-Helaire, a running back out of LSU that got drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs in the first round of this year's NFL draft, which happened about a month ago. We're in the middle of May. We'll show you the date here right now. This is when we're taping this. They haven't played any football. This guy doesn't even know what a pro football locker room looks like yet. You can see over here, Fantasy Football Calculator has him projected to go in the 4th round of many drafts. He hasn't even been declared the starter in Kansas City, and the starter in Kansas City is this guy, Damian Williams. The rookie's going 3 rounds before the starter. Not sure that's a good idea. Rookies have a tendency to not play well their first year in the NFL. But we like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's going to have a big year, but he might not start the season as the starter on the Kansas City Chiefs. Damian Williams is suspected to be the starter, and he's a pretty good player, so we'll have to see how that all pans out. The next guy on our list right here is Jonathan Taylor. You can see him right here. He's expected to go in the 6th round at this point on the average draft position sheet. And the starter for the Indianapolis Colts is this guy, Marlon Mack. As you can see, they're not sure which one's going to be the starter. I'm a big fan of Jonathan Taylor. I think you'll see him move up into here, especially if he's considered the starter. He could be a 3rd or 4th round pick. He's going to have a big year behind a great offensive line, but Marlon Mack's no slouch. He's in a contract year, and I expect him to want to produce also. So keep an eye on those two players. The next guy I want to show you is a really good player out of Ohio State, J.K. Dobbins, running back going to Baltimore, who likes to run the ball, and he plays behind this guy right here, Mark Ingram. You can see Mark Ingram's expected to be a 4th round draft choice in many fantasy football leagues according to this average draft position sheet. And you can see down here, J.K. Dobbins isn't going till the 10th round. That's good value. So if you take Mark Ingram here, you should take his handcuff, J.K. Dobbins. I'm a big fan of taking people's handcuffs at running back. Just like Jonathan Taylor, you should take Marlon Mack. And just like taking Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you should come down here and take Damian Williams. Regardless who the starter is, you should take their handcuff, because that's how you win championships. If one gets hurt, you got their backup, and that's a big deal in fantasy football, and I only do it at running back, and you should too. Let's take a look at this last running back right here, DeAndre Swift. He plays for Detroit. He got drafted by Detroit. And the starter is Kerryon Johnson right here. You can see he's going at the end of the 6th round, because in a snake draft it goes down round 6, up round 7. And the starter, he's pretty much going to be the starter to start the season. And you can see over here, DeAndre Swift isn't going to the 8th round. Detroit does like to run the ball. That's what the coach likes to do. They got a good quarterback, good wide receivers. Only question is, are these guys going to be the goal line back? They do got a back up there that likes to run the ball around the goal line, so it could be interesting. Might be a situation you want to avoid. But DeAndre Swift is going to be the man after this year, because Kerryon Johnson also is in a contract year. So those are your top 4 rookies that are going to be taken probably in some sort of order in any rookie draft. It'll be those 4, 1 through 4. And I really like them a lot. Make sure you get the handcuffs. We talked about Kerryon Johnson being the handcuff to DeAndre Swift. J.K. Dobbins is the handcuff to Mark Ingram. Jonathan Taylor's the handcuff to Marlon Mack. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the handcuff to Damian Williams. So if you have those guys drafted on your team, you need to get these rookies in there, and you'll be okay at running back all year, because these guys are going to impact fantasy football for years to come. And I think one of them, maybe 2 of them or 3 of them, just depends on playing time and how they adapt to being a professional in the NFL, whether they get a lot of playing time or not. People can put too much emphasis on drafting rookies early. I would highly suggest you don't reach on them in your fantasy drafts, because they have a tendency not to produce. There was a lot of rookie running backs that had a lot of hype last year, like Darwin Thompson in Kansas City. People were taking him too early. He did nothing. You take a look at Darrell Henderson of the Los Angeles Rams. He had a lot of hype last year and did nothing. Take a look at David Montgomery of the Chicago Bears. Everybody loved him, was taking him early. These guys didn't pan out. So when you look at rookies, you got to understand they have a lot to learn. They have to learn to be a professional. They have to learn a new play system. They have to learn how to spend money and all the things that come with having money, with people bugging you all the time. They have to learn how to block. These running backs, if they can't pick up a blitz, they're not playing. It just is Ronald Jones rule. If you can't pick up the blitz, man, you can't play. That's why the guy, Ronald Jones at Tampa Bay, had trouble finding the field. And he's going to be a good running back this year, because he probably figured it out after 2 years in the league. But it's important these guys figure out everything. So don't reach on any of these guys. They're going to be good players. I really like Jonathan Taylor. and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. We'll see if the other two can do anything. But let's take a look at the other two wide receivers I really like in this year's class. CeeDee Lamb right here went to a team that he needed to go to. It was the Dallas Cowboys, and I feel great about him going there. You can see right here, he's going in the middle of May in 2020, around round 11. You'll never get this guy in round 11 ever again in any draft you're in. This guy's going to be easily next year a top 5 round pick, meaning he's going to be up in here where some of these wide receivers, DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuels, Robert Woods, all these guys are going to be going next year. You'll see CeeDee Lamb up there, and you'll see Jerry Jeudy over here. He'll be way up there. These guys are very good wide receivers going to teams that are going to pass the ball. You think Dallas is going to run the ball this year? Yeah, they are. But guess what else they're going to do? A quarterback who's on a franchise tag down in Dallas, he wants to show that he should get a long-term contract. So he's going to be throwing the ball all over the place. And he finished number 2, Dak Prescott, in fantasy football at quarterback last year. In many of the leagues I was in, Dak Prescott finished in the top 3 at quarterback. Going to do it again this year. One of the reasons is because of CeeDee Lamb. Now, Denver has this guy, Jerry Jeudy, over here. They drafted him. He's the number 6 over here on Fantasy Pros, and he's going to be an impact player for years to come in Denver. Question is, can they protect the quarterback, and do they have a quarterback that can get him the ball? We'll see what happens up there in Denver, but Jerry Jeudy is a good wide receiver. Another thing, he hasn't really played in high altitude like Denver is. It's really high, and it gets really cold. So till he adjusts to that, I would temper my expectations. But the people that are in dynasty leagues should be looking at these 6 players as their top 6 picks. I think they'll impact fantasy football for the next 3, 4, 5 years. And it just depends on their opportunity and how they adjust to being a professional, picking up the playbook, because they can all play. There's no doubt about it. And these are your top 6 rookies that are going to impact fantasy football in the 2020 NFL season. Okay, here we are back looking at our tier 2 rookies that are going to impact fantasy football in the 2020 NFL season. And that's these guys from 7 through 13 and beyond. Starting with Cam Akers. If you look over here, right here is Cam Akers on the average draft position sheet. This kid was highly recruited running back out of high school. He went to Florida State and didn't produce. He kind of produced, but not like he was expected to. He was on some poor teams, but he went to the Rams. He's got some, Malcolm Brown ahead of him, and Darrell Henderson, who was one of these rookie phenoms drafted about this spot where he was last year, who didn't produce. Well, that doesn't mean Darrell Henderson can't play football, and it doesn't mean Malcolm Brown can't play football. But Cam Akers is considered on the average draft position sheet to be the next rookie to go after Jonathan Taylor and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. There's some risk involved here because he might not pan out this year. He's probably going to do okay down the road, but there's so much to learn. It's a huge risk taking him, playing behind an average to poor offensive line in Los Angeles. They're going to have to throw the ball in LA to compete on it. Their defense is average now. They lost a lot of good players. So I'd be careful with him. That's why Pros has him ranked at number 7. I'm not sure how he'll do this year, but we'll see. He's definitely high on people's lists because of where he got drafted. I'm not so sure. I got to see him play football first. The next guy I want to show you is not these guys right here, but the next one on the list over here, which is this guy, Keyshawn Vaughn. You can see right down here, he's going to Tampa Bay at number 11. He's another one that I would really worry about drafting, and if you take him in a rookie league, it just really depends on whether or not they sign another running back. There are a lot of good veteran running backs out there. It's the middle of May. We'll show you that date again. And there's a good chance that running backs like Devontae Freeman could sign in Tampa, or LaShawn McCoy is out there. There are just other veteran running backs that are available, and I wouldn't be surprised if they signed a veteran running back. If that happens, Keyshawn Vaughn would definitely move down the average draft position list. And you can see they have him ahead of DeAndre Swift and Kate Dobbins and Jerry Jeudy, but it's because of where he was drafted. And he's right here on the ADP sheet. So those are two of the running backs. As far as this guy over here, Jalen Reagor, we mentioned him in our Dynasty 2020 wide receiver preview. If you get a chance, you should go to our website and watch that video. He's going to be a starting wide receiver in Philadelphia. You can see that Fantasy Pros has him listed as the number 3 wide receiver. And you can't find his name anywhere over here because people who do drafts don't know, mock drafts don't know who Jalen Reagor is. We mentioned him in our Dynasty 2020 wide receiver preview. We thought he was a good wide receiver. We still do. And I think he starts at the slot position in Philadelphia and has a decent year. You can get him later in your draft. And for you Dynasty people out here, he's a solid pick. So you should consider it. That's why Fantasy Pros has Jalen Reagor ranked at number 8. And I agree. I think he's going to be a good player. I think Justin Jefferson right here is going to be a great player. As you can see over here, he's going to go in round 12 of your upcoming drafts. He's going to be a starting wide receiver in Minnesota. He was on a national championship team in college. When Stephon Diggs got traded to Buffalo, it opened up them to draft one of the top wide receivers in college. This kid's a player, man. You should see this game he played against Oklahoma in college that I watched, man. He was the man, scoring like 4 touchdowns. He was tough. So I think he's going to get a lot of playing time, and you should consider Justin Jefferson. Of course, Henry Ruggs down here. He got drafted by Oakland. He was the first wide receiver taken ahead of Jerry Jeudy, ahead of CeeDee Lamb. And he's going to be one of those guys like Marquise Brown that's going to have a good game, score 25 points, and then you don't hear from him for a couple weeks. If he can stay healthy, he's going to have a big career out there in Oakland. So he's someone to keep an eye on. I really like his speed. He's fast. He's going to return punts and kicks. He had a great career at Alabama. Already talked about Keyshawn Vaughn. And these last two guys I want to mention right here, Michael Pittman Jr. He's got to get a chance to play in Indianapolis with Phillip Rivers throwing him the ball. So behind a good offensive line, they're going to want to run the ball. But this kid can play football out of USC, and he's a big target. Might get a chance to start. And Denzel Mims, New York Jets guy, he's going to get a chance to play too. I mean, if you look at the Jets wide receiver core, they lost Robbie Anderson, and other than Jamison Crowder, Rashard Perryman, who I like, is yet to be proven in this league as a consistent player. This guy would be the third option, and he's going to get a chance to play a lot for the Jets. And you can see these are where some of these guys are going. Here's Denzel Mims here in round 14, and Michael Pittman in round 14, and Justin Jefferson in round 12. And the two guys that aren't on this list are just down the list on Fantasy Pros. T. Higgins, who's had a great career at Clemson, he's going to be playing for the Bengals behind A.J. Green and Tyler Boyd, so I wouldn't expect a lot from him this year unless one of those two guys are gone. And Chase Claypool over at Pittsburgh got a lot to learn. He's a big wide receiver. We really like him. He's going to get a chance in the red zone to get a lot of targets from Ben Roethlisberger if Ben stays healthy. But any of these guys marked in black that you see over here, the thing you have to understand is you're not going to get them in these rounds next year. They're all going to be moved up into the top portion of this draft, right in here. And that's why we're mentioning them to you. They may not pan out this year, but the keys to winning championships in fantasy football, one of them is knowing who's coming to the league every year. And these are the guys that have a chance to impact fantasy football. Now, we didn't talk about quarterbacks and tight ends. When we come back, we're going to show you where we think those guys are going to go this year. Okay, here we are back looking at some of our tier 3 players when it comes to quarterbacks and tight ends. I will preface that the fact that in fantasy football, rookies do not do well, especially at quarterback and even worse at tight end. Tight ends take sometimes 2 or 3 years to figure it out. So as you can see down here, the first tight end one off the board is this guy Cole Kmet. He was drafted in the second round by the Chicago Bears, but I wouldn't even consider drafting him in any redraft league, and in a dynasty league, probably not either. There's no reason to. There are other tight ends I'd rather have that are second and third year players, like a Mike Gesicki down there in Miami, or an Irv Smith in Minnesota, or Noah Fant up in Denver, Dallas Goedert, TJ Hawkinson. These guys will all have better years than any tight end drafted in this draft. Guarantee it. They take too long to develop. Same thing with quarterback. The only quarterback that you're going to find over here on the ADP sheet is this guy over here, Joe Burrow. He's the number 1 quarterback, and look, he's the 15th best rookie on Fantasy Pros. There's a reason for that, because they're not very valuable their first year in fantasy football. And you can see right here, the only quarterback you're going to see is Joe Burrow right here. He's taken in the 13th round right here. You won't see Tua Tagovailoa on this list. You won't see Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, or Jordan Love. It just takes too long for these guys to develop, and this is fantasy football. We're worried about 2020. If you're in dynasty leagues, yeah, those guys are relevant. You might want to consider taking those guys. They may pan out for you down the road. But for your redraft leagues, the only relevant quarterbacks that I could see even consider taking are Joe Burrow and Tua Tagovailoa. Those are it. And I'm not sure I would even draft them. I probably won't. There's too many great quarterbacks. As you can see, all these guys listed ahead of them. I mean, these are great quarterbacks. I mean, Jared Goff. I mean, geez, you could get all these guys. I had it taken Joe Burrows. I mean, I would probably even consider taking Phillip Rivers. I like Teddy Bridgewater this year. I mean, these guys are all guys I would take over both these rookie quarterbacks. And if you're going to take a rookie quarterback, it's probably going to be in DFS where they got a good matchup, they've showed some promise, and you're trying to save some money. But that's it. And I wouldn't consider drafting any of these tight ends that are rookies this year. The ones I mentioned are the ones you should be going after in your dynasty redraft leagues, and that's it. Okay, there you have it. In summary, those are just a small sample of some of the impact rookies that are going to probably help you win championships in fantasy football this year or for years to come. If you want to know more about these rookies, just come on over here and check out these videos under the 2020 Impact Dynasty rookie position players at running back, quarterback, and wide receiver, because we bust down all these guys and what they did in college, and that'll really help you decide who you like now that you know where they're going to play professional football, because the draft is over. The NFL draft is over. It was a month ago. We're in the middle of May. Taking rookies is always high risk, high reward kind of thing. There were a bunch of rookie busts last year. They're going to have big years this year. They're probably going to be better players than some of these rookies we mentioned today. So make sure you keep an eye out on your second year and third year players, because those are the guys that are really going to bust out this year. Knowing who is coming into the league every year is one of the reasons why I win championships in fantasy football. I'm Buster Brown. The show is called Redemption Rehab. Good luck.